Hello viewers, welcome back. We've reached the end. I've been going back and forth on what I wanted to do about spoilers for this last movie. You have not been spared up to this point. I didn't want to accidentally leave out something that would become important later. But in doing so, I focused a lot on the overall story and my worries that it might not wrap up well. After all that, it would hardly seem right not to address whether it did. So I might keep some of the specifics a little vague, but you can expect spoilers for this last movie as well. I suspect you know the drill by now, that this movie picks up right where the last one left off, so I want to start somewhere else this time. I really liked the overall tone of Future. Try, in general, had been a little darker, reflecting that the characters as well as the audience were all older now. But Future exceeded even my expectations. It's the darkest movie visually as well, and the whole thing brought me back to the Myotismon arc, with the kids returning to a city under siege. This last movie answered one fear of mine at least. There's no more putting off the main conflict. It feels very down to business. The creature Meicoomon and Gatomon fuse to make is Ordinemon, and King Drazel plans to use its power in his quest for the digital world to take over the human world completely. On top of finding a way to stop this, the Digidestined have to deal with their team dynamics shifting a bit. Kari isn't taking Tai's loss well, and one of my favorite scenes in the whole movie was one where Matt has to come to terms with stepping into the role of leader. You can see him feeling the full weight of that responsibility and finding the strength to direct them anyway. Not that it really makes a difference, unfortunately, because then Ordinemon appears and the kids quickly realize they're powerless to stop it. The kids meet Hackmon for the first time, and he tells them about Homeostasis' last plan, a reboot of the human world. They react to this about as well as you'd think, and Izzy returns to his frantic search for another way out. And from this point on, I think I am going to stick to just the details needed to make my points. As for the main conflict, all I'll say is that the issues with Mako and Meicoomon weren't resolved quite the way I was expecting them to be, along the lines of this movie being a little darker. Tai and Nishijima ended up in a sort of underground lab after the last battle, and this is where they finally find the missing 02 kids, all comatose. To be honest, this was one of the weakest answers Future gave us. You never even see the kids in their little chambers, and all we get after the fact is Izzy saying they're recovering in the hospital. There are still quite a few holes in this. The official story is that these four found out about what King Drazel was planning and were captured because of it, even though in Reunion I got the impression that the kids were locked out of the digital world, with no way to contact their partners, and TK and Kari were just as much a part of the 02 team, and I can't see them just not being included in this little off-screen adventure. And they were in the Digiworld when it was rebooted. Shouldn't they have also lost their memories? In any case, a weak answer is better than no answer at all, I suppose, which is what we get for most of Nishijima and Himekawa's story. We never get the full story about what happened when they were kids in the digital world, really just what we already knew, that she lost her partner and went a little crazy. We never get a proper explanation about the Harmonious ones, just that they're agents working for Homeostasis, I guess. And Nishijima and Himekawa themselves? It felt a little like the writers knew they wouldn't have time to really resolve their story, so they just killed them off. At least Nishijima we see succumb to his injuries once he sent Tai back to the real world. With Himekawa, we're just given a few hints that she's most likely dead too. Nishijima realizing at his end that there's nothing more he could do to help her, and telling Tai that he doesn't even know if she's still alive anyway. And in the last movie, we got a brief shot of Himekawa in the digital world with a gun, and it was pretty clear that she'd completely lost her mind by then. Back in the real world, Izzy comes through for our heroes yet again. He analyzes Meikumon's data and finds that she contains data from all of their Digimon. And this is probably my least favorite development of this movie. I mean, it serves its purpose as a major point in helping them take down Ordinamon, but it's also used to restore all the Digimon's memories, and basically renders the reboot of the digital world, you know, the big climax of this series, totally pointless. Maybe I missed some step in their plan, but it looked like Meicoomon was the only one completely unaffected. She kept all her memories and was losing her battle with the darkness anyway. Maybe it was meant to weaken the Digidestined, but they bounced back pretty quickly. I was looking forward to seeing how the Digimon's new personalities would affect their relationships with their partners, but other than the little conflict between Sora and Biyomon, nothing ever comes of that. It's just, we spent 2 movies on this reboot plotline, and any lasting significance of that is wiped out in all of like 3 minutes. Oh, and on top of all this, we never even see King Drazel in person. There's been a lot of ranting and complaining in this recap, so you may find this hard to believe, but I did actually enjoy Future. I don't think it's fair, exactly, for this last movie to shoulder all the blame for the problems Digimon Tri had as a whole. At this point in the story, I feel like Future was just handed this mess and did its best to clean things up. It did feel like a proper end. If anything, I think the plot holes presented in some of their explanations would have needed a prequel to answer. My final takeaway from Tri was that the story felt like it got away from the writers after a while. Given that the title is Digimon Tri, I do expect that there were originally only meant to be 3 movies, and I feel like if the story had been cleaned up a bit, the whole thing probably could have been told in just 3 or 4. As I said at the end of my last review, I don't have any regrets. This turned into quite a journey, and I do feel like I got something out of it, and I think other fans of the original will too. And let's be honest here, it's not like the original Digimon, and 02 especially, didn't have its fair share of plot holes. So even if you are only experiencing it through reviews, I hope this has been just as much of a journey for you. Thank you for watching.